Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Holt Outdoors podcast. We're talking coon dogs again today, and looking forward to this one. You guys are definitely not going to want to miss this one. We got a great guest on, so stay tuned for him here in just a few minutes. First, I got to thank the people who are helping us make this possible. Johnson's Telemetry, she takes care of me with all my tracking system needs. If you guys haven't heard of them, check them out. Also, the CCS Season 2, we've worked hard on it. It's finally available to members. If you aren't a member, we really appreciate all the ones who are. If you just go over to our YouTube channel, go to the website, check it out. It's pretty easy to sign up to be a member, and anything helps us, and that'll get you access to that early access to the CCS. So, the second season went great, and we're really happy with everything so far. So if you aren't a member, go over there and check it out. And then, our website, we've spent quite a bit of time beefing that up, and we're going to be using it in the future quite heavily. So we're working on merch ideas and things of that nature. So stay tuned for all that, and we appreciate all the comments, all the love and support. Really, it's humbling to hear from everyone. And, I'll just say right now, if I don't get back to you quickly on a comment or a message, it's just there's a lot coming in. So as soon as we can, we're gonna get to you guys, and we appreciate all the comments, all the love and support. So we had a request a while back from a listener to get I think I put it out on the podcast that I wanted to talk to somebody about breeding, and one of the requests that we had was for this gentleman right here. So without delaying anymore, we're going to get Chad Showalter on here of Simple Man's Kennels. So Chad, how's it going, man?
Good evening. How are you all?
We're good. We're just trying to survive in the 95, 100-degree heat here in Missouri. So it's been hot.
Even here, it's been hot. We hit 95-ish last week. It's pretty rough, and it's really dry. We could really use some rain. So
yeah. We've had a pretty wet summer here, but it's definitely tapered off pretty heavily here the last week or two, and it's starting to get pretty dry. But we got a little relief coming tonight. I think there's a little bit of a front coming in, and we're going to get a couple of days of like high 80s, mid to high 80s. So I'm looking forward to that for sure. It's gonna help. Hopefully the coons will be moving a little bit more all throughout the night instead of right at dark and early in the morning. But I'm looking forward to that. But Chad, I thank you for coming on here. It means a lot to have some people on here like you to get to, have a conversation with. And like I mentioned there, we had a listener that actually threw your name out there to get you on this podcast. So I appreciate it.
No pressure, right? I don't know who asked to have me on, but hey, no pressure. So yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember the guy's name either, but if you're out there listening to this or watching it right now, hey, thanks for the good tip on getting Chad on here. I had a little bit of a conversation with you it's probably 6 months ago or so, through Messenger. I was looking to get a pup, and you're in Ohio, right?
Yep. Yes,
yeah.
Sir.
You're in Ohio. I'm in Missouri. It just didn't work out. And I kind of knew of you, but you've got Simple Man's Kennel, and start off, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Obviously my name's Chad Showalter, own Simple Man's Kennel. Good buddy of mine, Landell Hinchcliffe, and I pretty much started out a long time ago, working on breeding hounds and learning a lot through trial and error. And then a good buddy of mine, Charlie Atkins, has kind of came in and kind of actually worked with us just because we like similar type of hounds. And, if you can keep a good buddy with a good hound, then they kind of hang around. And I'd like to think he hangs around for me, but I think it's more for the hounds than me, but it's all good. He's a great dear friend of mine. And then my son, Tyler, hunts some of our stock and with us and for us. And Sid Taylor, it's a big community of, just friends and hunting companions and that sort of thing. We are located in Northwest Ohio, very, very rural community, Grover Hill, Ohio, to be exact.
Mm-hmm.
We've been doing it for a while. Started running hounds in about 92, 91, 92, somewhere in there. I did come in a little bit late. It was not a family thing we did. I kind of fell into coon hunting through a dear friend of mine that has passed on, but people have heard me talk before about Gary Bindley getting me into coon hunting, and I'm so thankful he did. So we just try to put what we want to hunt on the ground. I mean, that's kind of the purpose.
Yeah. And so when you started into it, was you mostly hunting walker dogs then as well?
Yeah, I do have an off-color dog in the kennel. Walker dog is not necessarily my favorite breed of choice. However, it is the one that I can be the most successful with on getting what I want.
Yeah,
I am going to dabble into breeding an off-color line. I do have a female that is worthy of breeding, and I'm going to go down that path here shortly. But I really like plot hounds as well.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I'm going to try to dabble in that. It's the plot breed's a tough breed association to crack, but yeah, the walker guys are a lot easier to work with, but the off colors kind of get a little clicky, so to speak. But it's all good.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think that's, not trying to talk bad on any breed or any certain group of people. That's just kind of what it is. And everybody kind of knows that,
I probably should put a disclaimer out too. Everything I say is my opinion. Nobody else's. And I'm pretty blunt and to the point. So if I offend anybody, I apologize. I'm just trying to be real. So
that's the way it should be. I try to do the same thing myself. And, sometimes if people would be a little more real, with themselves, they'd have a better dog, or things would just be different. So, but so you said back in the 90s then is kind of when you started. Did you just get right into competition hunting, or did you pleasure hunt quite a bit? Was competition hunting foreign to you at that time?
Competition hunting was foreign. When I first started, just pleasure hunted. The old saying, I got $100 dog box, lead, collar, everything in one shot. And I think he even threw in a bag of dog food for my first hound. And I was real fortunate. She made it. And she actually was a pretty good, what I call a meat dog.
Yeah.
A real good meat dog. I did win. I did eventually take her into competition hunts because a lot of my friends did competition hunt, and they were like, hey, she is plenty good enough to go. And so I did end up making her a night champion, which back then was kind of a really big deal. It was tough.
Yeah.
Especially in the geographical area I live in. I learned a lot of $20 lessons back then. It was usually $20, $15, $20 to hunt. And I learned a lot of lessons in the competition world. But yeah, so got lucky and took her on, and then got into the competition side, and I enjoyed that. I grew up playing sports, a lot of sports, so that kind of takes care of two things, right? Your passion to be outside and in the woods and doing that, outdoorsman type stuff that you like, and then can fuel your competitive desire too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that worked out well for me.
Yeah. I've, I was an athlete too in high school, and it's, you don't get that competitive, stuff kind of leaves you for a while. And I go up and play old man basketball or something and roll my ankle. And, it's like, what am I doing? And then, the first competition coon hunt I went to, I was like, this is fun, even though I lost, even though my dog didn't look good or whatever. I was like, this is fun. It just kind of refuels that competitive side to you, that you've been missing a little bit.
Yeah, competitive side. And then I'm also very goal oriented. So, through setting goals for competition, like, I want to title this dog, or I really want to do good at this hunt. So then it kind of gives you a path to focus on.
Right.
Because let's just be honest, most people just don't want to get up and run through the woods every night in the middle of the dark. Everybody says, you're crazy. Why would? And I was like, it's peaceful. That is my time to recollect my thoughts from the crazy job I do during the day, and then I have goals that I try to achieve. So yeah, it just kind of brings all that together.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. It's fun to get out there, but it's drive. Everyone's being driven to go and sweat and get bit by mosquitoes and ticks and all that. You're going for a reason. There's something, a goal that you're pushing towards. But so I guess let's just get into the start of your kennel. When did it go from Chad hunting dogs to Simple Man's Kennel?
I had the idea of the kennel name many years ago, and we were fortunate. I was fortunate enough to get to be a part of a dog that I really liked. We called him Stylish Harry Sack. He was Dracula Sackett Jr. and Chuck Smearsall Stylish Hannah female. And that's when I really got the bug to kind of reproduce and hunt my own stock. Before then, I had bought a dog off this gentleman, or got a dog from here, or tried this bloodline or whatever. And I really started trying to focus into, this is the type of hound I want to hunt. This is the type of hound I enjoy. And can I reproduce that for generation after generation?
Yeah.
So it kind of started then. So it was probably about 98 ish that I really started pushing it. I had a few things done, but I was just young and not very focused on the end game, so to speak, at that time. Right. The name was cool. My favorite song, hence the name of the kennel. And a lot of people call me Simple. So it just kind of all stuck. Together there. So that's kind of where it originated at.
Yeah. I have two questions for you. So number one, me and you are in vastly different areas of the country, and you've got guys, and I mean, I'll be honest with you, I've probably done it myself when I've had a bad night with my dog, and I say, man, if I was in Indiana, I'd be, treating coons. If I was in Ohio, people do that all the time. And so for you, while I can recognize that there is a difference, I can also recognize that there's a difference in breeding and the amount of effort that's put into a dog. So for you, do you see that a certain type of dog could excel or be worse in different areas of the country? Do you put much stock in that whole different areas of the country type thing?
I think a coon dog is a coon dog, no matter where it's at. However, I think it does have to get used to the terrain and the habitat you're hiding said coon dog in. But I will say this. I do think some hounds are more suited for different type of terrain. I think some are more suited to heavier coon populations. I think some are more suited to thinner coon populations.
Yeah.
I think the biggest difference, honestly, for me, from what I've seen, is can they handle water or not water?
Yeah.
Whether that's swamps, rivers, creeks, streams, whatever situation. I think that's one big difference maker in certain lines of hounds, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's a great point. And that's kind of leads me to the second question. You said, you wanted to reproduce and hunt the types of dogs that you like to hunt. So describe that for me. What kind of hound do you like to hunt?
Yeah, here we go. So, I cannot stand a babbling hound. And I think because of the rules and the competition, I think a lot of loose barking, for whatever reason, intentional or not, has been bred into and promoted in the hound. And I won't do it. I just won't. If if it babbles, if it's run, I call it running air. It will not stay at my kennel. My hounds that I like and I keep, I want them to strike honest, but sometimes they're a little tight on the ground too.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not the biggest competition hunter. I'm definitely not a big money like PKC or Pro Sport. I don't chase all that money, the money hunts. But I mean, we have taken hounds from the kennel and been successful in some of those hunts.
Oh yeah.
And can be successful with a hound that's not a loose barker, but they can't make a mistake, and they just got to tree more coons. And at the end of the day, I think a hound that trees more coons is probably the better hound.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always equate that way on the scorecard or on points, right? So
right.
But a lot of times if I'm a cast winner, it's because my hound didn't make a mistake or I didn't make a mistake handling, and we treat an extra coon. That's usually how my hounds have to win, because I'm not getting 100 strike very often.
Right. Now, it's funny because we just talked about this a little bit last week. Do you consider, like, if me, you, and two other guys go out there and we're about to cut loose in a cast, and all three or all four of them or whatever, you cut them and they're barking for 10 seconds, that that excited bark, are you considering that babbling, or are you just the barker that's just barking all the way through the minute? Like, is that more so
what I'm talking about is the one that you can strike in 5 seconds and you never have to worry about it ever being minus.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree with you.
There's a lot of excitement, especially when dogs are with other hounds. Strange hounds are not accustomed to strange people. They're excited and they know they're hunting against other dogs. They're competitive too.
Yeah.
So, but if that dog yap, or, opens up a few times and then hushes and then goes in there and does what it's supposed to do and opens on the first coon scent it smells, I'm fine with that.
Right.
It's the ones that are just, they're just rhythmic or just all the way through. And I can't handle it. Just my opinion, my preference.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's, that's the beauty of it. There's people out there that can hunt whatever they want to hunt if that makes them happy. And, but you see it on videos and stuff, the comments of, and some of them are babbling the way you described it. But then some they're excited. They're standing, they know what's about to happen. They're excited. You cut them. They're all barking for 10 seconds, maybe 15 seconds. And then you shut up. Like, to me, that's acceptable. But yeah, it's that one where it's frustrating is they're barking. They get struck. And then, then you're hosed. If they turn it into a coon, it's 100 and 125 or whatever.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah. And they're striking, 50 yards in front of you, whatever. At least some people are respectable and will try to wait the minute now. Right.
Yeah.
But, and then they tree a mile away. That's my favorite scenario. I'm going to strike at 25 foot and tree a mile away.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It's, Everything you said, I agree with, and I think it's correct. And I guess it is what it is. But if, for the record, I would prefer a dog like you've described that you prefer to hunt. Absolutely, no doubt about it, because I've got to like it and enjoy hunting it all the rest of the days of the week. So,
and not only that, but I enjoy listening and trying to figure out what a hound's doing.
yeah.
And if they're just yap, 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 bark, bark, how do you know when it's, and maybe there is enough changeover in some of them. They don't usually stay if they're that way at my place. So, but I just don't like loose barking. That's just my thing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So a little bit more on your hounds, or the way, the characteristics that you like. Just, are they, keep in mind, I've never hunted, pretty much east of the Mississippi. Are they really kind of well balanced hounds? They tree layups. They can work up tracks. They can, just, I guess, describe their style a little bit, or the style that you prefer out of your dogs.
well, this is what I want. I want a dog that'll open on the first coon scent it can smell. And I want it to attempt to tree that first coon scent it opens on, whether that trails it out, whether it's a layup. I want a balanced hound, but first and foremost, I am breeding for accuracy. I've got some years on me now. I don't enjoy walking to slick trees, even less now than I did even 2 years ago, because it takes a lot to get to a tree sometimes.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, I breed for accuracy. And then, with accuracy comes a lot of things, whether you say, nose power, whether you say, hunts, there's lots of things that can roll up into what I consider accuracy.
Yeah.
On a hound. So, but yeah, I definitely want a well-balanced, accurate hound that is intelligent enough to take correction and know what I want it to do.
Yeah.
That's important to me as well. I need some intelligence there to make up for my lack of. So, and then the rest of the stuff's kind of irrelevant to me.
Yeah.
Everybody wants a big mouth hound, but where I hunt, I don't have to have a huge mouth. It's helpful. It's not a deal breaker for me. I don't care if they're blanket back. I don't care if they're open spotted. A lot of the stock I hunt is open spotted. I do prefer an open spotted hound and a black head, but I'll hunt whatever as long as it can tree coons. And then it's got to be, like you said, layup. You got to be able to lay up coons here, where we live up here, Ohio, Michigan line. People thinks it's coon heaven, and at times of the year it is, but we get heavy frost, we get snow. I want to be able to tree coons 365 days out of the year.
Yeah.
And that takes a different hound to consistently show animals with no leaves on to hide them, and frost and snow on the ground, and 12 degrees outside, and we still want to tree animals. So I'm breeding for all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't doubt it at all. You got to have it. I mean, you got to have that well-balanced, and so one of the things you said that I really like is that first scent that it comes across, it's going to try to tree that. If I could just hand build a dog, that it'd be just how you described, one that you like. It's coming across that first scent and trying to get that one treed and being able to tree layups. And that's exactly how I'd want one to operate.
I think if people, I think if the coonhound world would hunt with a truly nice layup dog, I think they would think, why haven't I done this before? Because I promise you, they will show you more raccoons than you realize are there. Yeah. And there's nothing more frustrating to me than walking through a block of timber and walking by 5 or 6 coons to see the 8th coon in the block that's 900 yards away treed, right? Like,
yeah,
if you done something with one of these up here a little closer, I'd rather just tree the first 8.
Right.
So, but that's just me.
Yeah. Well, how do you, like, I guess there's some debate. Maybe there's some debate on it. I don't know. This is just what I've heard, but it goes a little bit with the breeding side of things, but is layup dogs, is that 100% just natural ability? Is it learned? Is it come from a line of dogs? What is your thoughts on that?
Chad's thoughts on this. One, they have to have the nose capable to lay one up, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in the Walker breed, I think we've bred a lot of the nose out of them. And I think that's because most people in the competition hunts would like to hunt a get through the country ambush style dog.
Yep.
For a multitude of reasons. So that's first. The second thing is I think young hounds have the ability to be layup hounds, but their owners or trainers don't have the patience to allow them to be. And I'll give you a couple of examples.
Yeah.
Usually when those hounds are trying to tree layups, they're not good at it at first, right? And they'll miss in by a tree or two because they're working on wind currents and they're trying to, lay that coon up out of the wind and not with a track on the ground.
Yep.
So they struggle with that. And not only do they struggle with that, but they also seem to be bogged down because a lot of times when those layup hounds are learning how to lay them up, they'll tap around. And I think a lot of people go in and run their hounds out of there because they think they can't figure it out instead of allowing them the opportunity to get better at that trade, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, there's a couple of things there. And then, I think pleasure hunters are probably a little bit better at allowing the layup dogs to mature because the competition hunters, they want them gone. They want them treed.
Yeah.
But if they would just let that hound mature and work that ability and trade out and not be so impatient, then you can really do damage in a cast once they get adept at that. So,
no, I agree. Yeah, I'm guilty of that myself. I mean, I am. I'll tell you the truth sitting right here. I'm guilty of that. And it's
making you think, ain't it?
Yeah, it is. It's a hard one to think about.
You don't want them bogged down, right? Like I don't want my hound to bog down and be stagnant. But I can promise you this: if you allow that young dog, that young hound, to work that craft a little bit, when they get that figured out, and them dogs are in there running all over, and that dog just falls treed in between all of them, and you got a coon, and you flip loose, and they go another 90, 100 yards, and boom, they're in another oak. Coon's balled up sleeping. They got another one. That's my favorite. That's my favorite. So
I can't imagine how frustrating that would be as a competitor in a cast. Is just like my dog's way through there and this one's treeing them all around us. But yeah, it's because, and I guess it comes down to knowing your dog, knowing the history of the mom and the dad and just the whole story. Because no, I don't. I think you'd probably agree with me. I don't want my pup, let's say it's a year old or whatever, to be sitting in there 50 yards from me, just being lazy, just standing on its head doing nothing. You don't want it to think it's okay to just do nothing and just be lazy and not go hunting. But at the same time, like you just said, that's making me think. It's like, well, what if she's not just doing nothing? She's in there with her nose up and trying to figure this out, and I'm going in there and running her off, so that's interesting for sure. That's a good thing to think about.
I had a gentleman I think he was from Georgia, call me and he was frustrated. He goes, "Hey, this hound is amazing when it opens on the ground and runs a track, but here lately it's just going in there and locate. And then when he gets treed, he's wrong." And I said, "Coon 2 or 3 trees over?" "Yeah." I said, "Just take him off that tree and walk him and let him have his nose in the air to the right tree and get him on it." I said, "He's trying to tree layups." And that guy's like, "Oh, I don't believe in that." And then I said, "Well, this is how I would work him." So then he called me back about a month later and he said, you were absolutely correct. He'll go in there now and might throw 1 or 2 locates, and you can see him just move a little bit on the garment, and then he locks it down. And he says, "I'm treeing coons behind dogs, to the side of dogs." Coons we didn't even think were there in sections we've hunted, and you always tree in the back, but he's treeing them in the front. And so, it's patience and and just kind of knowing what they're trying to do, I guess is my point.
Yeah. There's no black and white, right or wrong answer. You just got to kind of know the dog, know the situation. And it sounds like for that situation though, it sounds like you just lead him off of that tree and maybe, try to not encourage him, but if his nose is up in the air, see if he can correct himself and turn him loose back, and then he finds the right tree, reward him, or however you want to do that. But yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. And layup hounds aren't popular in some competition circles either, because more often than not, you tree on a big tree, right? And it's harder to find those coons sometimes where, I think a lot of people would just rather be a mile and up a bush. So when you get there, you can score the coon, and you ain't got to try to find it, because sometimes they're hard to find, especially if they're balled up sleeping. But
no, that's a great piece of information, because I never really thought of it that way. But man, well, let's get into, I mean, we kind of touched on it there. Just you may not, I don't know how you consider yourself. I don't know if you consider yourself just a coon hunter or, a breeder, but definitely some people for sure out there look to you as a breeder. And so I'd like to talk about that. You may not be able to answer my questions, but I'm just going to speak from the place of an average guy that's got questions about it. And so, if I had a really nice female and I wanted to breed her, people talk about breeding to something that complements, your characteristics. I mean, and you've heard people say it, you never know what you're going to get, but how do you stack those odds in your favor as a breeder to not only get quality dogs, but to get dogs with the characteristics that you personally, like?
So when we talk about breeding, some of my viewpoints are quite different than other people's viewpoints in the breeding. So I'm just going to put that out there. This is what's worked for me. And I'm not saying I'm the best or the most successful, but I've had a little bit of luck. So first I start with a female. My entire breeding program is based on females. I could care less about a male dog. I do have 2 male dogs in my kennel now. I like them both. They are fine. I don't like to hunt a male dog, and I can do better by working off of a female's genetics. So that's just how I manage my kennel. The first thing that I think people lose sight of is, if you truly want to reproduce better offspring than you have to have an absolute brutal, honest opinion of your female. So, sometimes people will call me and say, I'm thinking about making this cross, what do you think? And I'll say, well, what's your female's faults? Oh, she's awesome. She's the best dog I've ever owned. I understand that every dog has faults. I've yet to own one that doesn't have a fault. And then, unfortunately, and I think where some people fall short, is you kind of have to know kind of what you get with general lines, right? Like, I know this line, I don't want to name any, but this line throws more tree power, more tree-minded hounds. A lot of my females are trailing type hounds and layup hounds. So another reason why I kind of stick with the bloodlines we work with is because they are that way, and I can find tree-minded male studs easier than I can the opposite, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, a brutal, honest evaluation of your female and or your male dog, if you're going to breed, and then trying to figure out what probably is going to work best to offset what you think you need to improve.
Right.
Is kind of where I go with that. And I don't usually breed to freaks of nature. So I'm very big on it. If it's a freak of nature, how can it reproduce that? Because it's a freak.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I would rather breed to the blue collar I can go out and treat 3 coons consistently with this dog and score 300 points every night. Then the dog that goes out and scores 1,200 this night, might minus out the next night, might score 300 and then have another big score, right? Like, I think you have to breed to consistency. And I prefer a blue collar dog too. I don't think any of my hounds will really make you sit back and say, oh my gosh, did you see that? It's just kind of, as you hunt and the night goes on, you're like, holy cow, you've treed 6 raccoons with your hound and I've treed 3. But you kind of don't know. They're just going to sneak up on you because they're not flashed. That's what I prefer. So I try to stay away from freaks of nature too. I really look at like reproducing litters or reproducing families. And, we were fortunate enough to have a pretty good cross here about 6 years ago. And it'd be Bill Cordy's stylish Kirky dog. He's throwing really nice young hounds. It'd be my Gabby female, Derek Compton's Abby female, and the hardwood white trash dog. I like that. I like where you have 4 or 5 really what I would call above average hounds in one litter. And then you would think they would then reproduce that, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that's kind of where I try to focus on. And I would much rather judge what stud I'm going to go breed to off of seeing pups out of them versus the stud itself. I could care less to see the stud. I don't care if he doesn't tree coons or he does tree coons. But if that stud doesn't tree coons and I hunt with 8 pups out of him and they all run in tree coons and do it the way I want it done, I'll breed to him. Yeah. Because it doesn't matter what he does. It matters the genetics and the traits he's throwing. Those are 2 entirely different things.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. Cause he could do anything he wants, but really what you're basing it off of is the offspring. What's he throwing? So if let's just say I've got a female that's really, really tree minded, but she's really tree minded, but she'll come up slick or whatever, and you want to put more trailing back into them. In your breedings, have you seen that when you cross those characteristics and try to come up with something in the middle, do you just wind up with half the litter that's like the mom and half the litter that's like the dad? Or do you wind up with a good cross, a mesh, that works of the 2?
I would like to say you end up with a good mesh, right? Because genetics says you should, but you don't, unfortunately. So like our lady female has been a really good reproducer for us. Several night champions through a Final Four Super Stake finalist that I own. You can take her litters and all of her litters, she will throw predominantly one style of dog, but every litter will have one dog that is a complete opposite of what I think she should throw and what she does throw. So there's that. I always found that interesting. She will throw, honest, open, trailing dogs, layup ability, but in every litter, she will have one that's almost dead silent and is a little too much tree dog. And with 8, they're fine. But at first I'm like, this is not what I bred for. These 5 are exactly what I think I should have. This one is the oddball out. And she'll have that in every litter, no matter what you breed her to. I've bred her to trailing hounds. I've bred her to what I consider our tree hounds. Because she's very balanced. And she pretty much throws a trailing type dog like she is. But there's always one that's got too much tree in it. It's always interesting to me.
Do you have any idea why that would be? Why that happens that way?
I do. So lady is actually, I know all of the hounds in her pedigree going back 4 or 5 generations. There's one hound, one little finger of that bloodline is what I would consider heavy tree dog. And I just think those genes seep through, in about 1 pup every litter. That's crazy. It's interesting to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done all kinds of crazy stuff. I've ran coefficient and line breeding calculators, and I've messed with all kinds of breeding strategies, to be honest with you. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's just simple. 50% of the genetic makeup comes from the female and 50% from the male, right? And you think you throw those together and you're going to get a combination of something, but
right.
not the way it works. So.
Right. Yeah. And I've heard that before. And I just kind of want to ask that, for our listeners or viewers, because I'm sure a lot of them out there are just like me. I mean, that's kind of what we tailor ourselves to is the average guy that works and hunts and is just trying to have the best, dog that they can have. But yeah, that's very interesting how that happens that way. I guess at the end of the day, nothing's ever a sure thing, and you just put the best that you can with the best that you can, and you get whatever you get.
Yeah, it's it's a lot easier to breed for looks and genetic makeup as far as conformation, I guess, and they may disagree with me on that. But when you start breeding for performance traits and performance characteristics, I think it just exponentially gets more difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think I already know the answer to this, but brood females, do you think that's a thing? I mean, obviously there can be good come out of it, but it's not something you're gonna do, I'm sure. And what's your, because there's obviously a group of people out there that thinks that is a good thing to do, but maybe those people tend to lean more towards the side that the stud dog is providing everything. And there's people out there that put too much stock in the stud dog, if I'm being honest with you.
Well, I completely agree with that, right? I've never understood why people put so much stock in the stud, but I mean, it's their prerogative. Mm-hmm. Brood females. So here's my question for you. Brood female, 2 female littermate sisters are born. One goes to Joe and one goes to Jim. Jim never hunts his. Joe hunts the hair off his and makes it a mediocre dog. Which one's the brood female?
Yeah.
So there's too many environmental factors involved with coonhounds as well, in my opinion. Now, I will say this. I would rather breed to something that I've seen ability perform, but at the end of the day, you're also breeding for genetical makeup, right? Mm-hmm. And the brood female has the same genetical makeup as the littermate sister. I'll also even go one step further. You got 2 male dogs, right? One wins the world hunt and can't reproduce anything that trees a coon. One's never been in a competition hunt. It's a pleasure dog, and he throws everything that runs in trees.
Yeah.
Well, I will say this until I can't say it anymore. Reproducers are not made at the hunts.
Yeah.
Reproducers are born. I firmly believe the first breath that pup takes, it can either pass on genetical makeup that I want and that is viable, or it cannot, regardless of how it performs.
Yeah.
So that was my roundabout way of answering brood females. I will say this. I've had a lot better success breeding a mediocre female and her reproducing than I have a stellar female.
Yeah.
And maybe that's because my expectations are more out of the upper echelon females, right? I don't know. I actually kept a couple of littermate sisters on purpose. One is the better performer ability, say they're littermates, and I'm just kind of doing my own little, experiment to see what they throw, which one goes better.
Yeah, so, that whole thing right there is always just kind of bothered me, I guess. Like I don't know if you deer hunt or you've ever deer hunted, but I kind of think of it like deer. Yeah, it's like you've got management of deer, right? And a lot of the time it's based on the rack size and age a little bit. But to me, it's like whenever a deer's born, I think of it like the deer has this genetic makeup within it, and all that it has to do to reach a certain size is be given the opportunity to get to that size. And what does it matter if it breeds a doe or 15 does at 2 years old, or if it breeds them at 6 years old? Isn't it still going to have the potential to reproduce, you know, its size? You know, let's say it's the biggest, it's a 200-inch whitetail. Isn't it going to have the same ability to produce another 200-inch whitetail, whether if it breeds at 2 years old or it breeds at 6? You know, and I compare that to the dogs, like as in, this dog is unproven because it's a year old and it's never been put in the hunts or hunted at all. This one is 6 years old and has won 5 world championships. Like it's the same genetically. I don't know if that makes any sense how I said that, but I just
no, I completely agree with you. I completely agree. I mean, the deer, that buck is going to have the ability to produce or not, you know, whatever genetical makeup it passes on for antler growth. Now, whether it ever reaches a mature size, to see that, that's debatable, right? Environmental factors again, because I promise you I will shoot it way before it's 200 inches because I like to put them in the freezer. That's how I deer hunt. So
yeah,
but,
nothing wrong with that.
But yeah, and the hounds are the same. They're the same way. I mean, to get a puppy into everybody's hands that's going to give it its optimal chance it's a fallacy. It's impossible.
Yeah.
I would like to say all of my puppies, you know, go somewhere where they get a rock solid chance. And on the flip side, I know that every puppy I produce is not going to make it. I would like to say they will, but they're not.
Yeah.
I mean, my goal when I make crosses is to have something I want to hunt. And if somebody's crazy enough to hunt what I like to hunt, you know, that's okay. But it's to have every pup at least be able to tree a raccoon. It may not be a competition hound. It may not even be a great pleasure dog, but the goal is to at least get it to tree a raccoon.
Yeah.
And then you go from there, right?
Right. Yeah, I think that's that should be the goal of everyone. And looking back at what we just talked about, it seems like, you know, if you're a breeder or just, you know, somebody that's hunting, if you have the ability to breed a female that you've seen go, or you know, you like the characteristics, it's a proven dog, sure, do that. But it's not out of the question to take a mediocre dog that has, you know, the genetics that you may like or that you've seen before, and take them somewhere to a stud dog or a male dog that you know that you like, and you know, it's not crazy to expect decent results out of that as well.
Yeah, and I think some of the other things that's really helped me is I usually stay with what I would consider one line of hounds. I breed primarily and predominantly on one line, and then I just outcross into that line and then line breed around to it again a different way. And so that way I at least keep what I would consider a foundational stock of something that's close to what I want.
Yeah.
So then, you know, eventually you got to go out and get something else to add into it. But that's the only way I've been able to keep my accuracy in my nose. And I just keep going back to that well time and time again. There's other traits that I get that a lot of people don't like. They're not great, powerful tree dogs. Sometimes they're ball mouth. Sometimes they're very poor tree dogs in the summer. But again, at the end of the day, I want to treat raccoons when it's 12 degrees out up here too, or with a heavy frost. Yeah. So you got to sacrifice a little bit of how they sound in the summer so I can tree them in, you know, in the winter. So it's always a trade-off. And no matter what you're doing or where you're trying to go, you're going to trade something off usually to try to get something else added.
Right. And
then, go ahead.
Real quick, for somebody that maybe doesn't have a clue what you're talking about, just give us a quick, you know, you don't got to go into great detail about it because I know you could probably talk for hours, but just real quick, give us a rundown of what line breeding is and what an outcross is, and kind of what each of them does for you.
Yeah, so I line breed on clover. I think anybody that knows anything about what I hunt knows that's my foundational stock. So when I say clover, I mean stylish whitey, stylish clover. So that line has X amount of traits, and then what I have done is I have line bred on that line over the years. So my favorite cross is an aunt nephew cross, uncle niece cross. Like that's where I really like to hit on my line breeding. So you're taking the traits you already have in a hound and you're adding the same traits back into it with maybe just a little bit of something different. So then when I get those traits kind of hammered into one, and then I'll go out and you got to outcross, which would be something bred completely off of that bloodline or those genetical traits and makeup. So you don't get into the inbreeding and the crazy things. And actually the line I hunted, they got a little crazy in the late 90s and they'll know what I'm talking about, but they just they went back to the well too many times. So you got to bring out some outside genetical makeup to just keep it okay. So Mother Nature doesn't, come in and give you 3 legs or,
Right.
2. So that's outcross and line, what I call line breeding. And I really work on line breeding. That's just the way I can keep my genetical makeup. And I will say this too, I've made some crosses through the years, not because of what I thought that cross would be, but because of what I think that cross would throw the next cross. So I actually just made a cross like that a couple years ago. We bred an uncle to a niece, very, very heavy. And I even told my buddy, I was like, one's going to make it, 2 or 3 will be okay, and there'll probably be 2 or 3 duds in this cross. And I didn't really let that cross go anywhere. It pretty much stayed local because it was heavy. And I knew there was a chance it might blow up in my face, but it actually worked. So I got a really super nice female in a male dog out of that. And there's 2 other females that they treed coons. I mean, but not great, but they treed coons. And so now I have all that genetical makeup packed into that one hound, and one of them is a male dog I own. So now I can take that male dog and cross it to any female because I got all those genes packed up. And then I can bring it back into my line and back into my other male. And I'm pretty much set up I probably won't go anywhere for breeding for a long time. So
well, you definitely sounds kind of like a mad scientist, in a way. It's, you got the formulas and everything figured out, and
we try.
Yeah. Well, you're doing it for what you like and what you want to hunt, and obviously there's a lot of people out there who like it as well. Your list fills up pretty quick whenever I see it on the Facebook page, and so.
We have been fortunate there. I mean, we do sell some litters for what I consider a lot of money, but we try to keep them down. And we even intentionally will make a cross or 2 because, I'll be like, let's breed her to Mo. Mo's a dog we own that is great. Just wasn't campaigned much. And he's kind of like a personal outcross we own that. And so like, if we cross on him, we're going to keep a female and we're going to sell the rest of the litter for not a lot of money. So that way, everybody can get a chance to take, and you're taking a gamble. Anytime you buy a pup, you're taking a gamble. So
that's the truth. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've talked quite a bit now for, on the breeding side of things. And, it's really interesting how things can go. And I think you've given some people, a lot of good tips, a lot of things to think about when it comes to that. And I just, one more question here I think I only have a couple more questions. We're coming on an hour here before too long, but, if if somebody came to you and said, "Hey, I got this female, and we're just talking just a coon hunter. I mean, not necessarily a competition hunter, just somebody who wants to tree coons, and maybe they can take their dog to a hunt or whatever. But what are you going to tell them to look for? I know you're going to ask them what kind of dog they have, but in general terms, we won't name any lines, but we'll just say I got a trailing dog or I got a really tree minded female or whatever. But what are you going to tell them to look for out of a stud dog? Because there's so many today. I mean, I have a buddy that has a really nice female, and it's like, who am I going to breed her to? There's just so many of them.
There is. So stud dog world is interesting. Like back when I started, there was 5 stud dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Like you went and you bred to Sackett Jr., you bred to Naylor, you bred to Hayes, Coma.
Yeah.
Now everybody kind of has their own stud dog in the backyard, and they're trying to hunt pups out their own stud dog, which I think is great. I truly think that's great. I think that adds more diversity to what we're trying to do. So I think that's a good thing. I think for just the normal, I want to go coon hunting and I want to try to have a successful dog. I think you breed trailing to tree and tree to trailing. Whether your female's trailing, you're going to want a tree minded, male. And if your female's tree, you're going to want a trailing minded male.
Yeah.
And I think everybody has a difference of opinion on what lines those are.
Yeah.
But there's definitely, in my opinion, three or 4 trailing type lines out there right now. And then the rest I think are tree minded. That's just Chad's opinion on a Tuesday at 8 o'clock Eastern time, because you're 7 o'clock. That's just my opinion now, right? So
yeah. And it sounds to me like, if I was to ask you that same question, but put it to, hey, I want to compete in hunts, like there's a group of people out there who are going to say, I'm looking for one that's fast, one that's going to get through the country and get treed quick. But to me, what you're doing, you can have both, because you're wanting accuracy. I mean, that's and I think that should be one of the most important traits that you should breed for, is accuracy, because at the end of the day, it don't matter how fast you do it. If there ain't a coon there, then it don't matter. So, people watch.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I'm going to say something probably unpopular here, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think it's a lot easier to make and train a hound to blow out of here and tree the easiest, hottest coon it can find. I think that's way easier than trying to do some of the things I try to do or I expect my hounds to do. And I think you can find that. I think you can find that trait anywhere. The dog just has to be willing to run away from you and tree a hot coon. It's kind of that simple, right? So probably not a popular thing to say on here. That's just a Chad Showalter thing, but that's the way I truly feel.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're all about here, is giving everyone different opinions to listen to. And there's a lot of different people out there that have different opinions and successful in their own way. And that's what it's all about. I mean, not to mention this, but I know you judged the UKC World Championship last year. So,
I did. It was a great time too.
For people that may be listening to this and don't know you, we've talked about breeding and stuff like that. You've been around, and judged and done some things in this world to be able to have an opinion, a good one to base things off of.
Well, the judge in the UKC World Hunt, if you can't get to that level, which I've tried and I haven't made it there yet, but to judge it's like the next best thing, honestly. And when I got asked if I would be willing to judge the finals, my exact words were, when I am judging, I am like, it is judged the way it's supposed to be judged. There is no give me's. And they said, yep, that's what we want. So, and it was great. And here's the other thing everybody needs to realize. You're judging hounds on a 2-hour time frame. Like I can only judge them on what they show me in those 2 hours. All three of those dogs are phenomenal dogs. I've hunted with all three of them multiple times now.
Mm-hmm.
And they are all great. It's just that night one dog made less mistakes and was just better in that 2 hours. That's it.
Right.
Yep. As far as that goes, and I can only judge them. Now I will say this: I did judge the finals of Walker Days this year too in April.
Okay.
For the $5,000 or whatever they had to Walker Days, and J.R. Gray said, "You pass minus out here the same way as you did at the World Hunt." And I said, "I pass it out when it's deserving." That's So he was excited. He didn't get it, and I apologize, J.R. I just want to say that because we had a good time. So
yeah.
But yeah, if people would just understand that their dogs can't win every cast, and just understand that it may not be their night, and take their minus and take what the dog gives them, or they give the dog, right? Like sometimes they just make silly dumb calls.
Yep.
We'd all have a better Friday and Saturday night at the hunts. Like that's just the way it is. So
yeah, it's meant to be fun and competitive, sure, but yeah, just take your minus when you get it, and hold your hand up and say that's on me when you do something stupid, and yeah, don't cause a scene. But
yeah, no, the judge in the World Hunt was great. It was great. I really do think that's the most prestigious World Hunt there is, in my opinion.
yeah,
I think it is the one. I think all the other registries are great, but in my opinion, that's the one. And it was an honor to judge that. So that's something off my bucket list now, I guess.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I was watching that one, and it was it was a good cast, and yeah, just like you said, one dog stayed clean and did what it needed to do and came out on top. But
yeah, made two trees, had two coons, and had not good strike. If I remember right. So
yeah,
back to if you can stay clean and you can tree raccoons, you've always got a shot.
yeah, the accuracy. I mean, yeah, but before we go here, I kind of ask everyone, what's one piece of advice that you could get? You've given a ton of pieces of advice here in this hour. I understand that, but just a piece of advice for people who want to have good dogs. They want to, if they want to be competitive, one piece of advice in general terms that's going to help somebody be better.
I think we have become more successful in the kennel in the last probably 4 or 5 years than we ever have before, because for two factors. One, I had a couple of very good friends now come on board. One starts pups for me, and that's Sid and Charlie Atkins hunts hounds for us. Great friend. But when those guys kind of came on board, then we started having conversations. So before then, it was just like land on myself and be like, "Hey, this is a pretty nice female. I think we can get somewhere with her." Well, when Chucky and Sid came on board, it was like, "I like this female and she's good, but we've had better, so we need to go a different route, or we need to set a time frame. And if she doesn't get here, then we need to start with something else." And just having those brutal conversations. So if I had any advice, it's all about setting a goal and realizing if you can attain that goal with what you're hunting. Now, if your goal is to go out and have 3 hours of fun on a Thursday night pleasure hunting, and you tree a couple of coons and a couple of slicks and you're happy, that's great. Yeah. Like there was a time in my life I was very happy to do that, right? Right. And I still am in a sense. But, so you just have to make sure whatever you're hunting and you're spending time with, because as I age, time is a factor for me. Like time becomes the most important factor. So I like to have patience. I like to give a dog every opportunity and a chance, but you also have to be able to accurately and honestly evaluate what you're seeing. And if you don't think that hound's going to get you to your goal, whatever that is, World Hunt winner, or, tree 3 coon on a Friday night and be home by midnight with the grandkids, whatever that is.
Yeah.
If you don't think that hound can get you there, then give it an opportunity, but don't make excuses for it, and don't try to overtrain, I guess, is kind of where I'm at right now with my mindset, I guess.
Yeah, that's great. I couldn't have said it better myself. That's that's kind of what I've been preaching here lately to myself and just, to buddies and stuff. Be honest with yourself, be honest with your dog. And yeah, I think that's a great piece of advice. So Chad, take a minute here to plug all your stuff. I mean, I know you got the Facebook page and stuff. Just the time's yours to send people, wherever they can get your information and kind of keep up with what you're doing.
I'm pretty much the only thing I really have going on is Simple Man's Kennel Facebook page. Yeah. I will say this: please don't send me friend requests on Facebook. I will not accept them. I'm kind of funny. My Facebook is my own very personal family, friends for lifetime type of area where I have all my grandkids and I'm just a little funny. But if you want to talk, you want to message me, I'll answer on Messenger pretty good. I do have a pretty busy job, but if you want to see anything hound related, it is always posted on my kennel page first. Every litter of pups posted there first. Anybody that's crazy enough to follow me on my Facebook, and it's private. So when you find it, you got to ask to be a member, because I try to keep we don't like hunting dogs and we don't like hunting in general people.
Right.
So it's private. I've never made it public, but I mean, Simple Man's Kennel on Facebook, and that's pretty much it.
Yep. So go there. If you guys are listening to this or watching this, go there if you want to, keep an eye on, what he's got going on and see some of his line of dogs and all that. So yeah, Chad, I appreciate you coming on here. I really do. Great conversation with you. And yeah, you got any last words before we go ahead and sign off for tonight?
The only thing I want to say is get in the woods as much as you can. Everybody's got a limited amount of time here on this rock. So if it makes you happy and that's what you're passionate about and you can get out and do it. So thanks for having me on, by the way. If people want to listen, I hope they do. So you didn't waste your time, but it's fun. I like to talk hounds. So, I mean, it's good.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me if anyone listened to this one. I definitely got some good information off of it, and there's going to be a lot of people who listen and can take some things away from this. That's what we're all about. That's what we're trying to do is get information to people that are like ourselves and just want to have good dogs and compete if they want to. So Chad, really appreciate it, and hopefully you will have a world champion here before too long coming out of your kennel. I'm sure it's going to be no time.
Well, we'll see about that. It takes a lot of luck and breaks, right? But I appreciate it, and it was great talking with y'all. I enjoyed myself. So
yeah. All right. Well, yep, no problem at all. All right, thanks everybody. Chad, we'll see you later. Appreciate it. All right. Well, there you have it with Chad. Really a good dude and wow, lots of information there about breeding. So I can't remember who actually sent that request to get him on there, but whoever you are, appreciate that. And hopefully you enjoyed that one. Basically, long story short is breed good dogs to good dogs and the genetics are there, and if you have any questions, just give this one a playback and rewind and listen to some of that. Get the notebook out and take some notes, because there's a lot of knowledge dropped there. So, thank you everyone for all the love and support. Thank you for watching our videos on YouTube, for listening to this podcast and watching it. If you haven't, we ask that you recommend it to a friend, share it. The more that it gets passed around, the easier it is for us to keep it going. And we appreciate all that. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe on YouTube. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or another platform like that, leave us a review. Those definitely help with getting the podcast recommended to other people and just having good reviews. So appreciate all the love and support, and we will see you next week.